Hey everyone, today I wanted to do a video about Editor-in-Chief and Fixit Grammar. So I've seen this and I've thought this myself in the past, that these programs were pretty much the same thing, that one could replace the other. And I've used both of them, and I thought it would be helpful to make a video kind of showing how they're different. So I have not used these levels yet. These are the next levels we're going to use. And I chose them because they're both for grade 6 to 8. So Editor-in-Chief, I used the very first level with my second grader last year. And it was, I think, beginning 1 was the level. And then we've used levels 1 and 2 of Fixit Grammar. But Editor-in-Chief level 2 is for grade 6 to 8, and then Fixit Grammar level 3, Robin Hood, is also for grade 6 to 8. So these are intended for kind of the same age student, and that's why I chose to kind of compare these. Now, I think you could use these in tandem or concurrently, but I don't think that they both do the same thing in the same way. I'm looking at potentially using Editor-in-Chief as like a review, like maybe over the summer, or I'm possibly considering, because Fixit Grammar is a 4-day-a-week program, on day 5 having my child do Editor-in-Chief. But I'll show you a little bit about what they each cover. So for Editor-in-Chief, it's about $21, I believe. And you get this book. I bought mine on eBay for $9 used, but if you get it new from either Amazon or the website, it's $21. And it's one book. And then in the back of the book, there is your answer key. So the back portion is the answer key. And in the front, let's see, it goes over what it's going to cover. So how to edit a passage, content, capitalization, punctuation. Then there's a mini review of those first 3 lessons, spelling, adjectives, adverbs, articles, conjunctions, prepositions, and interjections. Then a mini review over those 3, and then a larger review over the first 6 lessons. Then you go into pronouns, verbs, clauses, and phrases, mini review, agreement, confused word pairs, run-on sentences, then a mini review, a review over the previous 6 lessons, and then a final review over all of it. So that's what's covered in this book. And essentially, you are going through the very first lesson is on content. And I actually don't like this particular lesson because they don't really give you a lot of guidance on what you're supposed to do. What I've gathered from this one is that the information here doesn't match the information here, and so you're kind of using this part as your guide. I'm not positive, but there are, I think, 5 pages on content, and that's all you're looking for is content errors. So you would just go through, just like you were editing a writing assignment, you'd go through and mark the content errors. And then you get into the lesson 2, which is like really the first real lesson. And this is what a lesson looks like. Here it's going through basically all the capitalization rules. So you have 2 pages of a lesson that you're just reading. And then you're going through and looking for 12 capitalization mistakes that you will go ahead and mark on here. And then they say you could use another piece of paper and rewrite the passage without errors. That is similar to what you would do in Fixit Grammar. I don't know, I guess that does that through a lot of the lessons. So that's an option, but that's all you're doing then throughout lesson 2 is looking for capitalization errors. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're on. So that's basically like for that week, if you did this as a 4-day program, that's what you would be doing. And then your next lesson is on punctuation. So you have 5 pages of a lesson. that you're just reading, and then you would have, you're going to look for all these different punctuation errors, and you have basically 4 pages of that, and then you have a mini review over content, capitalization, and punctuation, and I think that's just 2. There's 2 pages for the mini review, and then you get into the next lesson. So every page on here, you are looking for mistakes and you're marking the mistakes. And then, like I said, they give the option to rewrite it correctly. So you could do that. The lessons are pretty, like they build and they get pretty long. Like that's a lot of just reading about a topic. So that one was 2, 4, 6, 8. And then you have, usually it looks like 4 pages of the editing. So one of the reasons that I don't think I would use this as my main grammar program. And the main reason for that, for my particular learners, is that this is a lot of a lesson to cram in to just work with for 4 days and then move on. And I'll show you in Fixit Grammar how it works a little differently and why I like that a bit better. But I do think that this is great for learning how to edit and for looking at someone else's work and trying to find the mistakes. And I think it's good practice. You know, once you know these kind of grammar rules and skills, I think this is good to kind of keep those up. So that's kind of the look at that. Now, Fixit Grammar, this typically for the set, which comes with the student book and the teacher's manual, is $29. So about $8 more than Editor-in-Chief. And while this is called Fixit Grammar, so you might think it's essentially just editing, like in this, you're actually doing just a lot of, you are doing some Fixit, but you're also doing a lot of labeling of the different parts of the sentence. So you are basically sentence by sentence rewriting a story throughout the year. So this one is the story of Robin Hood. So every day you're working with the next sentence from that story. Now they do have a nice scope and sequence in the front. It tells you what lesson or what week any of these things are covered. These are all things that are covered in this level. And this does also include some vocabulary. This is a 30-week program. The vocabulary for us, we don't do a whole lot with it. We just read it, and if she doesn't know it, then we look up the definition, or I tell it to her because it lists it in here. But so here's what a lesson looks like in Fixit Grammar. So in the beginning, it's a lot of review of stuff they've learned in previous lessons. So each week starts with a Learn It page, which looks like this. This one happens to be front and back. It goes through whatever the rule or concept is that they're learning, and then each day of the week they have a sentence. These are the things that they're looking for in that sentence, so they're marking it and they're fixing it. They're doing both. So here they have to mark 2 articles, they have to label 4 nouns and 3 prepositional phrases, and then these are the things they're fixing, the capitals and the end mark. And then they rewrite it correctly down here. So you don't have to have like a separate sheet of paper, and then the next day it's the next sentence. What I like about this is it's a combination of marking, like labeling the different parts of the sentence, understanding what parts are where, and fixing it. And then on day 4, you're done for the week. The next week you have a new lesson. This one happens to be front and back. They give a lot of good examples. It's not just a ton of text you're reading, it's a lot of examples. And then again, you get into the marking it and fixing it. Now, in the beginning, let's look at week 1 again. This is all that they have to mark and fix. So that's not a ton. By the time you get to the end of the year, it looks more like this. This is all the things that they have to mark, and this is all the things that they have to fix. What is nice about this, especially for my learners, is that it's very repetitive and it builds upon itself. And so it really helps cement these things in because they're working with them every day. You're not just working with it for 4 days and then moving on. That's really helpful for the way that my kids learn. I feel like with Fixit Grammar, people either love it or they hate it. And I think a lot of kids find it boring, and so that's a lot of why people hate it. I will be honest, when we first started in level 1, I really kind of questioned, was this really doing anything? Was she really learning? But this is, for me, this is one of those programs that you just have to trust the process and be patient with it. It's not, if you want the information cemented, you have to trust the process and take it step by step and know that it's going to build on itself. It's not something that you're just going to read one lesson one day, work with for a few days, be done, and then remember it 3 weeks later. I know some kids can learn that way. Mine don't. So this is a really good fit for that. What I like about the teacher's manual is it gives you some extra information on the sides. And then it gives you, you know, all the answers and sometimes a little bit of a explanation for an answer if it's something that's maybe a little odd or something. And then in the back, they have a glossary. And this part's really helpful because it gives you a whole lot more information for you to use when you're going through the lesson with your student. If it's something that maybe you don't understand that well or like that they're struggling with. So, you know, let's say they're really having trouble with the who, which clause. Well, let me go back and relearn what a clause is. It gives all kinds of information. And then I can see like, all right, so this is a dependent clause. It's an adjective dependent clause. So I can learn a little bit more to help my student. I feel like this back matter is really, really helpful. So to me, that's another bonus for this. And I think we just started doing structure and style writing this year, but I'm really seeing how this and structure and style really work well together. And I'm seeing all this time my daughter has spent picking out these clauses and phrases and all of that. She's writing them now in the writing, and she was so much more prepared to do that, I feel like, because she's been working with them so long in Fixit Grammar. What else can I tell you? Oh, the other recommendation I have is if you are going to try anything from IEW, I would recommend ordering it directly from IEW and not like a Christian Book or Rainbow Resource, because Fixit Grammar has really great customer service. And if you order this and you use it for a few months and you just say, you know what, this is not for us, they will refund your money. They'll pay for shipping back to them. My understanding from what I've read on their website, I have not returned anything to them yet, but basically they will take anything back. They will refund your money. They will refund your shipping if it did not work for you. So to me, that's a huge incentive to purchase directly through them, especially because their things can be a little pricier. I think this is really reasonably priced and very comparable price-wise to EditorinChief. But if you're getting into Structure and Style or Phonetic Zoo, which are pricier programs that IEW offers, I think that that's definitely the way to go. The other thing is, if you have a question, you don't understand why something is the way it is, you can email them, you can call them, and they'll tell you why. I had a question about why a certain grammar topic was not covered until level 4 or 5. That is normally covered in other programs much earlier, and they were able to go through and tell me why that was. They, you know, just give you a very personable response. They know their product. They know why they do the things they do. So to me, that's an incentive to purchase directly through them if this is a program that you're looking to purchase or any of the IEW. I'm not affiliated with them, by the way. Those are things that I appreciate about them as a company. So do I think that this is a replacement for this or this is a replacement for this? I don't. But I do think they could work well together. I feel like for Editor-in-Chief, this is just my opinion, but I don't think I would use this necessarily to teach new concepts to my child. I would use this more as review for concepts that they've learned, to give it to them in another way. I feel like when you can present information to your kids in different ways, like repetition is okay. It's what helps them learn it. And so if we can approach adjectives, adverbs, and articles from an editing standpoint as opposed to a labeling standpoint, after we've learned it this way, that's really going to just help them cement that really, really well. So to me, this is something I would use in conjunction with this. I don't think I would use this on its own. Now, when I used the beginning one with my son, it was all mostly topics he either already knew or were pretty simple kinds of things. The lessons were much shorter in that one. And I just wanted him to have a little bit of a taste of some of the grammar topics. And his sister that year was doing Fixit Grammar. And so I thought, oh, well, he gets his own little thing where he gets to mark things. So that's kind of why I did that. But anyway, that's my take on Fixit Grammar and Editor-in-Chief and how I would use them. Let me know if you think differently. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I really enjoy talking to you guys down in the comments.